Good evening and welcome to World Bulletin, your trusted source for in-depth analysis of the world's most pressing events. Tonight we bring you a story that could reshape the very fabric of international relations. We're tracking a seismic shift in global power dynamics. An imposing Chinese naval flotilla has made its presence known in Venezuelan waters, just miles from the US coastline. This is not just a symbolic gesture, it's a demonstration of China's growing reach and confidence on the world stage. This isn't a routine port call or a friendly visit, it's a bold, calculated deployment of advanced military hardware, right in what has long been considered America's strategic backyard. The message is clear, China is ready to assert itself far beyond the Asia-Pacific. The implications are staggering, challenging decades of US foreign policy and signaling China's ambition to become a truly global power. This move is likely to send shockwaves through diplomatic circles in Washington and beyond. Tonight, we'll break down what this means for the United States, for Venezuela, and for the entire international community. How will this affect alliances, trade, and the delicate balance of power? What exactly is in this Chinese fleet? Why has Beijing chosen this moment to act? How is President Maduro's government responding to this show of force? And what steps is the White House preparing to take in response? The stakes couldn't be higher. This move has the potential to fundamentally alter the strategic balance in the Western Hemisphere, raising questions about security, sovereignty, and the future of great power competition. But this story is about more than just warships. It's about oil, ideology, and the shifting balance of power in a region rich with resources and history. The economic and political consequences could be felt for years to come. Stay with us as we unpack every angle of this unprecedented development, bringing you expert insights and on-the-ground reporting. The world is watching this historic moment unfold, and World Bulletin is right here on the front lines, keeping you informed every step of the way. Let's get to the heart of China's deployment. Leading the flotilla is the advanced Type 052D destroyer Xiamen, backed by the Jiangkai II frigate and the Qiandaohu replenishment ship. This isn't a symbolic gesture. These are warships built for real conflict, capable of long-term operations far from home. The fleet's route around South America, avoiding the US-influenced Panama Canal, shows careful planning and growing Chinese naval reach. Beijing claims it's a joint training exercise, but the fleet's composition screams power projection. The message to Washington is clear: Venezuela is no longer alone. For Nicolas Maduro's government, the Chinese fleet is a lifeline. State media hails it as a historic show of solidarity against US imperialism. Maduro calls it proof of a new multipolar world, declaring the Monroe Doctrine dead. Beyond propaganda, China is Venezuela's top creditor. This deployment protects Beijing's massive oil investments. For Caracas, it's a deterrent against US pressure and a chance to stabilize its battered economy. But critics warn Maduro is trading one dependency for another, risking sovereignty for survival. Still, for now, the regime sees the benefits of Chinese military backing as outweighing the risks. The partnership is a calculated gamble in a high-stakes game. In the wake of China's bold maneuver, Washington's response is a careful blend of condemnation and calculated caution. The administration is acutely aware that every word and action will be scrutinized, both at home and abroad. The White House swiftly labels China's move as provocative, signaling disapproval to the international community. Yet, officials are careful to avoid language that could trigger a direct confrontation, emphasizing the need for stability and restraint. Behind the scenes, the U.S. Southern Command has quietly ramped up surveillance operations. Naval assets are repositioned to shadow the Chinese flotilla, tracking every movement with advanced radar and satellite technology. The message is clear. America is watching and it's ready to respond if necessary. The overarching goal is to maintain a robust American presence in the region, projecting strength without escalating the situation into open conflict. Military leaders are on high alert, balancing deterrence with diplomacy. Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, lawmakers from both parties are vocal. Many demand tougher sanctions on both China and Venezuela, urging the administration to take a firmer stance. Some invoke the Monroe Doctrine, calling for a renewed commitment to defending the Western Hemisphere from foreign influence. The administration now faces a complex dilemma: how to counter China's growing influence in the Americas without risking a direct military clash between two nuclear-armed powers. Advisors debate the best path forward, weighing the risks and potential consequences. Economic pressure is another tool, but it comes with risks. Sanctions could further isolate Venezuela, pushing it even deeper into Beijing's orbit and strengthening the very alliance Washington hopes to weaken. Most likely, the US will pursue a multi-pronged approach, combining diplomatic pressure, increased support for regional allies, and a visible military presence to reassure partners and deter further Chinese advances. The underlying message is unmistakable. While China may have arrived in the hemisphere, it will not operate unchallenged. The US intends to defend its interests and those of its allies. The stakes for American credibility in the region have rarely been higher. Allies and adversaries alike are watching to see if the US can uphold its long-standing role as the dominant power in the Western Hemisphere. Around the world, governments and citizens alike are watching America's next move, knowing that what happens here could shape the balance of power for years to come. Across Latin America, reactions to China's bold move are deeply divided, reflecting the region's complex political landscape and historical ties. The news dominates headlines, sparking intense debate among citizens, politicians, and analysts alike. Some see opportunity, others see danger. US allies like Colombia and Brazil express deep concern, fearing that the Chinese deployment could destabilize the region and threaten their own national security. Their leaders call for urgent consultations with Washington, emphasizing the need for unity among democratic nations in the face of growing uncertainty. Meanwhile, left-leaning governments in Bolivia and Nicaragua openly welcome China's move, hailing it as a necessary counterweight to decades of US dominance in the hemisphere. Supporters rally in the streets, waving flags and chanting slogans, while officials praise Beijing for standing up to Western influence. The arrival of the Chinese flotilla forces countries across the region to pick sides, exposing deep ideological divides that have long simmered beneath the surface. Parliaments erupt in heated debate, with some lawmakers warning of a new Cold War, while others argue for neutrality or closer ties with China. In Europe, NATO allies watch the situation with growing alarm. Foreign ministers urge restraint on all sides, worried about the precedent set by China's power projections so close to US shores. Editorials in major newspapers warn that the crisis could reshape global alliances and security norms. Russia, predictably, throws its support behind the Chinese deployment, framing it as a legitimate challenge to US influence in the Western Hemisphere. Russian state media celebrates the move, calling it a turning point in the global balance of power. In the Indo-Pacific, US partners like Japan and Australia see the deployment as undeniable proof of China's expanding global ambitions. Defense officials meet urgently to discuss the implications, warning that what happens in Latin America could soon echo in their own region. What began as a regional standoff now threatens to become a global flashpoint, with news outlets around the world tracking every development. The crisis reverberates from the Americas to Europe and Asia, raising fears of escalation and miscalculation. As the United Nations Security Council convenes in emergency session, the world's security architecture is being tested in real time. Diplomats scramble to prevent further escalation, knowing that the decisions made now could shape the international order for years to come. To grasp the stakes, look to history. For 2 centuries, the Monroe Doctrine defined the Americas as a US sphere of influence. China's naval arrival is the boldest challenge to that order since the Cuban Missile Crisis. But unlike the Soviets, China's strategy is economic first. Its Belt and Road Initiative has made it Latin America's top trading partner. Now, economic leverage is translating into military presence. The Chinese ships in Venezuela are the military face of the Belt and Road, protecting investments and allies. This fusion of economic and military power marks a new era in global strategy. The rules of the game are changing. What does this mean for the future? US-China rivalry is now global, with the Caribbean as a new front. American naval supremacy in its own hemisphere is being tested. Washington must decide, focus on Asia or reinforce its backyard. For smaller nations, this is both opportunity and danger. Playing superpowers off each other risks turning them into proxy battlegrounds. Neutrality may no longer be an option. The Chinese ships in Venezuela signal a shift to a contested, multipolar world. The era of unchallenged US dominance is ending. The world is entering a period of competition, uncertainty, and new alliances. Thank you for joining World Bulletin. We'll keep following this story as it unfolds.